What do you hear when the house finally goes quiet at night? Not peace, not silence. You hear it, that persistent, high-pitched tone no one else in the room can detect. The one that's been there so long, you've started to think of it as an uninvited tenant who refuses to leave. You've sat in audiologists' offices and been told your hearing is fine. You've tried white noise machines, only to find the ringing rises to meet them. You've noticed it gets louder when you're exhausted, that it steals words from conversations at dinner and forces you to smile and nod when you've already lost the thread. What you would give for one quiet morning.
I'm Dr. Chima Okoye. For 19 years, I've been doing something most researchers don't, reading what peer-reviewed trials publish and reading what they bury in the footnotes, the supplementary appendices almost nobody opens. I'm not here to manage your tinnitus. I'm here to trace the signal. Because what your ears are doing is not an ear problem. It is a systemic distress signal, your body broadcasting a deficiency chain that conventional medicine doesn't test for, because it was trained to look for disease, not depletion. Two entirely different searches, two entirely different answers. Here's what most seniors don't know about the inner ear.
Deep inside your cochlea, that spiral structure converting vibration into electrical signal, lives a fluid called endolymph. This fluid is not passive. It maintains a precise electrochemical environment called the endocochlear potential, a standing charge of roughly positive 80 millivolts generated by the stria vascularis, a metabolically active tissue that acts as the ear's biological battery wall. That charge powers the hair cells, the mechanosensory cells that translate vibration into the neural language your brain reads as sound. Without a stable endocochlear potential, the transduction process degrades. The signal becomes corrupted. Think of a submarine sonar array losing calibration. The equipment is intact, the system is running, but the returns no longer correspond to anything real, so it generates phantom signals, ghost echoes from nothing. That is your ringing, not damage, miscalibration. The ions maintaining this gradient, primarily potassium and its membrane transport cofactors, are acutely sensitive to systemic depletion. The vasculature feeding the cochlea is among the most delicate microvasculature in the human body with no redundancy. When perfusion falters, the battery wall drops its charge. A 2024 review from the University of Zurich's otorhinolaryngology department analyzed cochlear ion transport markers in adults over 60 with chronic tinnitus. The finding? Signs of disrupted potassium recycling were present in over 80% of participants, including those with completely normal hearing tests, structurally intact ears, biochemically compromised environments. The ear itself may not be failing. The failure is in the fluid, the charge, the cellular system sustaining it. And biochemical failures, unlike structural ones, can be reversed. I want to tell you about Chloe. Chloe is 63, a retired high school English teacher from outside Portland, who came to me after 4 years of what she called chasing silence. The detail I haven't forgotten. Last Christmas, her 7-year-old granddaughter tried to whisper a secret in her ear. Chloe couldn't catch a single word because the ringing swallowed her granddaughter's voice whole. She laughed it off. She cried on the drive home. She had seen 2 ENTs, tried masking devices, taken sleep supplements, and been told at every appointment her hearing was within normal range. What she said on our first call, "I'm not asking to hear better, Dr. Chima. I'm asking to hear quiet, just once." I looked at her labs. Nothing was flagged, but her serum potassium sat at 3.6 millimoles per liter, technically inside the reference range, but at the low boundary of what cochlear research now considers functionally adequate. Her GP saw a passing number. I saw a system running on the edge of its reserve. In this series, I'll walk you through 5 cellular deficiencies that directly starve the inner ear. Not as a supplement list, but as a sequence of switches. each measurable, each connected to the next. Before we get there, I want to leave you with something to notice. Have you found the ringing worsens in the afternoon? Not just because the day has been long, but consistently between 3 p.m. and 6 p.m. That is not random. There is a specific biological window when the inner ear's microvasculature is most vulnerable. Keep that in the back of your mind. Let's start with the first switch. Deep inside the cochlea, ion pumps work continuously to maintain the electrochemical charge we discussed, the endocochlear potential that keeps your hair cells sending clean, accurate signals. These pumps run on potassium and are powered at the mitochondrial level by coenzyme Q10. Not a power line, not a wire. Think of them as the pressurization system of a commercial aircraft. When cabin pressure holds, every instrument reads true. When pressure drops, even slightly, the readings skew. Not because the instruments broke, because the environment they depended on was quietly compromised. CoQ10 declines with age. If you're on a statin medication, many of you are, that decline accelerates. Statins block the same enzyme pathway that also produces CoQ10. The pumps slow, the gradient weakens, and in that weakened environment, the brain stops receiving clean signal and begins generating noise. Not imagined noise, produced noise, a symptom of a system running without its fuel. Dietary sources that support CoQ10 include grass-fed beef, sardines, broccoli, and avocado. Midday intake, not morning, produces better absorption. The second switch involves folate, vitamin B9, and a molecule called homocysteine. When folate drops, homocysteine climbs. And elevated homocysteine does something specific to microvascular walls. It stiffens them. The capillaries supplying the inner ear are among the most microscopic in the human body. When healthy, they behave like new silicone tubing, pliable, responsive, adjusting to pressure in real time. When homocysteine is chronically elevated, they become like sun-cracked garden hose, rigid, brittle, passing only partial flow. A 2025 analysis from the Karolinska Institute followed 312 adults over 60 with persistent tinnitus and found elevated homocysteine correlated with measurable cochlear blood flow reduction in 74% of participants. The cochlea was being starved. Restore it through lentils, dark leafy greens, chickpeas, and liver. The third deficiency rarely appears on a standard panel. Subclinical iron depletion limits red blood cell oxygen capacity. Not full anemia, nothing that gets flagged. Cochlear hair cells rank among the body's highest oxygen consumers per unit of tissue. Under low oxygen, they don't adapt. They suffocate quietly. Standard cutoffs catch disease, not borderline depletion. There is one observable marker, persistent mental fog between 2 and 4 p.m., paired with cold fingertips even indoors. Both signal compromised peripheral oxygen delivery. The fourth deficiency is one that almost never makes it into mainstream tinnitus content, and that silence has real consequences. Taurine is one of the most concentrated amino acids in inner ear tissue, and its job is to act as a regulatory brake on overfiring auditory neurons. The auditory system isn't just a receiver, it's a filter, constantly deciding what to amplify and what to ignore. Taurine keeps that filter calibrated. Without it, the system doesn't go quiet, it goes loud. When taurine drops, vagal tone degrades with it. The vagus nerve physically passes through the ear canal and plays a direct role in modulating cochlear inflammation and auditory sensitivity. A poorly toned vagus nerve locks the ear in a state of hypervigilance, scanning, amplifying, listening for a threat that never arrives. It's a nervous system that doesn't know how to stop guarding. Support it with dark meat poultry, oysters, clams, and 5 minutes of slow breath work in the evenings. The fifth deficiency is one your tinnitus specialist has almost certainly never tested for. Chronic gut inflammation generates bacterial fragments, LPS, lipopolysaccharides, that escape a compromised intestinal lining and enter the bloodstream. They cross into the inner ear's microenvironment and sustain the exact inflammatory state that keeps the ringing alive. A 2026 analysis found that low microbial diversity correlated strongly with tinnitus severity, independent of hearing test results entirely. Intact ears, a compromised gut. Remove ultra-processed seed oils and high-sugar inputs. Add kefir, sauerkraut, and prebiotic fibers. Think of it as reducing your internal noise load. Now, that question I planted in the beginning. Why does the ringing reliably worsen between 3 and 6 p.m.?
In the mid to late afternoon, cortisol drops to its daily low. Simultaneously, blood pressure undergoes a natural secondary rise, driven by biology, not behavior. For adults over 60, that rise is steeper and less predictable. This creates a brief but significant microvascular stress window, the exact hour when capillary supply to the inner ear is most compromised, when every deficiency we just walked through extracts its highest cost. This window gets zero attention in conventional tinnitus treatment, until now. I've said everything I just told you to hundreds of patients. Every single time, the look on their face is the same. They ask, "Why didn't anyone tell me this?" For a long time, I didn't have a clean answer. I'd send articles, I'd draw diagrams, but science without a system is just information. And information alone doesn't change biology. Everything I've walked you through, the ion pump failure, the folate homocysteine link, the vascular window, these aren't isolated problems. They converge in a single overlooked hour. This is why I put together a resource for my patients. The book is called The 4 p.m. Fix. It was originally designed as a 21-day afternoon reset for adults 60 plus with stubborn blood pressure. But as we just saw, that exact vascular pressure is what is starving your inner ear and keeping the ringing alive. $14.99, not a reading assignment, a 21-day daily system to reopen that microvasculature and quiet the system. 12-minute chair-safe exercises, a blood pressure tracker, and doctor conversation scripts, the exact words to bring to your next appointment so you stop leaving with a pamphlet and start leaving with a plan. This is for the person doing everything right and still feeling uncertain. That was Chloe. That might be you. I don't know how long that link stays up. The book is in the pinned comments. Grab it. Tonight, after the 3 to 6 p.m. window closes, somewhere between 6:30 and 8, when your body shifts toward nocturnal repair, make something simple. Baked dark meat chicken, sautéed leeks and spinach with a small dish of fermented food alongside. A meal that speaks to every system we've covered. Eat it slowly. Then sit somewhere quiet and breathe. 5 in, 8 out, 5 minutes. Or hum softly. Let your nervous system remember what it feels like not to be on guard. You won't fix years of depletion in one night, but tonight you begin. Chloe at 8 weeks. The ringing was still there. I want to be clear about that. It hadn't disappeared. But something in its relationship to her had changed. It had moved further from the front. It was no longer the first thing she reached for when she woke. The moment she described happened on a Tuesday, before 7. She was in her garden with her coffee. She heard the birds before she heard the tone. For the first time in 4 years, the ringing wasn't what greeted her. The garden was. She told me, "I didn't lose it, but I stopped living inside it." What her doctors called normal was never what she experienced as life. The clinical system optimizes for the absence of disease, not the presence of function. Those are not the same thing. They have never been the same thing. The ringing is not in your ears. It is in your cells. Repair the cells, the silence follows. Your body has a schedule. Most people spend years fighting it. The ones who learn to work with it, who understand what that 3 to 6 p.m. window is asking of them, those are the ones who get quiet. Tell me in the comments, how long has it been following you? I want to know. And share this with one person who's been told to just learn to live with it. They deserve to know this exists. If you grab the 4 p.m. fix, you already have a 21-day system built around exactly this window. If the link's still up, it's worth it. If it's gone, reach out. I'll see what I can do. I'm Dr. Chima Okoye. You started this video asking what you give for one quiet morning. I hope tonight puts you one step closer to finding out. Subscribe now because next week, I'm going to reveal a bedtime routine that is proven to strengthen weak legs in senior adults. You don't want to miss that.